Thank you. Time back on.
That's Roughcraft, big boy.
Welcome back to the Captain's Run podcast with Angus Brayshaw. We weren't sure if we were going to keep going into the off-season just because of budget reasons. And as soon as you came onto the podcast, Angus, we have been struggling with the budget.
Yep, that's understandable.
But they've allowed us to keep going at the moment, as long as we bring the goods, really.
Yeah, look, there was an overwhelming social media response. Obviously, we've got the Instagram going, and the people want what the people want, Max. So when that happens, you know, shift some funds around, and here we are. I'm excited to be back. What's it been? 5 weeks.
Well, we haven't spoken since we unpacked cans and was going into the GWS game. So we haven't spoken for a while, but we have gone and we did have 2 wins there to finish off the year, but then unfortunately missed the finals. And we don't want to talk about that because everyone knows what happened, and your brother couldn't get over the line for us against Western Bulldogs.
Yeah, we don't have to go into that. I don't think we have to go into that. And that sort of ties into a little bit we'll talk about later, but we digress.
Yeah, we digress. And since then, we stayed an extra 4 days up in the hub post the game. This is obviously new to you, Angus, because you were already back in Melbourne. But, we had 4 extra days there to do some exit meetings and a best and fairest, which Christian Petracca got the chocolates very, very close. Stephen May almost got him in the last 4 or 5 weeks. And always a best and fairest when there's 2 clear standouts. The one that doesn't win seems to get every other award.
Yeah.
So he had what did he have? Most courageous, most liked, best young player. He's probably best first year player. So that was good. And then a few of us went to Gold Coast. There was about 4 or 5 different Airbnbs, groups of sort of 5. Obviously had to stick with Gold Coast rules, Queensland government restrictions. And we hardly really caught up as a group. And then I drove home, Angus.
Okay, well, let's break that down because that's a fair drive.
Yeah, so Oscar McDonald was going to Sydney, who we might call later on in the show.
I reckon we can squeeze that in.
He was going to Sydney, so the first leg it was me and Oscar for 9 hours to Sydney, and he was incredibly hungover.
Oh dear.
Which is very funny because anyone who's done that drive, the first sort of hour or 2 out of Gold Coast is very windy.
Really?
And he was nowhere. I guess absolutely nowhere. I would have been better off driving by myself.
Did you drive him?
I drove the whole 18 whatever hours it is.
I'm glad you did that.
Then stayed in a little place in Sydney by myself, about an hour out of Sydney called. Excuse me if I get this wrong, because I will. Barrel, Bowral. Who knows what it is?
Barrel.
Well, I stayed there, and then got on the move and got to Melbourne by about 3:30 in the Arvo Monday Arvo.
Perfect. Would you do it again? Would you ever drive back?
Well, there's a bit going on around Christmas time for me. I've got a wedding and potentially Christmas up there with my brother in the Gold Coast if we're allowed to get there. But the wedding's in Sydney, and it sort of makes sense if I drove. But I don't know. I'll work it out. The worst bit of the drive, Angus, is easily the first 2 or 3 hours of each day. Okay,
so I've got a wedding that I could hopefully probably not go to because it's in West Australia. But if I had to drive there, would you? Is that the sort of thing? Like, have you been turned off it that much that you wouldn't drive like that far, or is it you pretty happy?
No. I'm a big driver, and I wouldn't let anyone else drive.
Okay.
I'm one of those guys, which I think is quite gross. You should be able to hand over the wheel.
Yeah, the love.
Yeah. But we digress to you. How are you? What are you doing?
Not a whole lot of not much. It's been a boring 5 weeks. Just sitting around. I've got into the I've got a little home gym out in Trenor's little shed out the back of his.
Oh, yep.
Put some weights in there. I've been starting to shift a bit of tin in the body region, trying to get something going. But yeah, my foot's it's a slow progress, which is to be expected. There's nothing unusual about that. I've been Danielle's been looking after me very well, and I've been watching a lot of telly, playing board games, bit of sport on. So I'm trying to keep myself entertained. And I've also been doing a lot of thinking about this podcast. About this podcast, what we want to do with it, what the future looks like. Because I think we've spoken about before, one of our major goals, I mean, we're segueing into it now, unless you want to keep going. We're thinking about the future. Are we just a football podcast? I think we can be bigger than that. And so, yeah, I've just been thinking about, what the future holds. Have you had any thoughts? Is that something that has come across your plate at all, or is that just a me thing?
I've had less time to think about the podcast than you have, but I definitely wanted to keep going throughout the non-footy season to be able to. But we need to talk footy, so that's why we bring in what's that guy's name who does the news again?
Is it Ben? I think it's Ben. We'll just call him Benny Boy.
Benny Boy. We got Benny Boy coming in, and he'll give us the footy news that everyone needs and everyone wants.
Yep.
We don't need to talk footy at all. I mean, apparently, I think there's 6 teams still in it.
Apparently.
Final tonight, final tomorrow night. Port and Brisbane look like the one, but we'll get to that later on.
All right.
Our last footy commitment this year will be the Brownlow Medal.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Will you be going to the Brownlow this year?
No.
Well,
how do you go to the Brownlow?
Yeah, there's like a satellite Brownlows in each city.
Brilliant.
It's still obviously the 5 people will get invited from each club. So, as captain, you have to go.
Well, that's lucky.
But you're thinking you're a chance. I mean, 7th in the BNF, was it, or 8th?
8th, I think. So what does that mean? I came.
Well, you were 3rd in the Brownlow at 6th.
I'll probably be 4th or 5th. We'll see.
Yeah, 4th or 5th in the Brownlow. That'll be right.
That's how it translates, isn't it?
Well, I came 6th, so
in the BNF.
In the BNF.
So what? You're finally going to climb the mountain and finish 3rd?
Yeah, but I didn't wear a helmet.
That's all right. You got your beard. That's your big look at me thing. So as long as you got that, then you'll be fine. Don't worry.
All right. Last little bit of footy we talk. The people who have moved on already. Obviously, Harley Bennell, Carl Dunkley, and the 2 Wagner boys.
Yes.
I do want to go into the 2 Wagner boys because there is a great story behind their departure. As all 4 of them are, the Wagners a little bit higher regarded in terms of how fun they are. They were, and that's not selling Harley or Kyle short.
We have to stress that because that's exactly what it looks like for all the podcast listeners. We have to stress that's not what Max was just doing. So don't worry about that.
Okay, so at about midnight, best and fairest night, obviously a couple of beers had been drunk, and the 2 Wagner boys turned up to the best and fairest even after getting delisted, which I think it shows the kind of person that I was talking about before, with how well liked these 2 boys are, and they turned up, and it got to a point where there was a bit of a sing along going on. There was some loud music. Anyway, One More Time came on by Daft Punk.
Oh, yeah.
Which is a classic song. Most people's grade 6 or year 12 graduation songs. And
absolute classic.
And that's obviously One More Time. Anyway, every time that line came on, the whole group was changing the word time to year.
Oh, yeah, to give them 1 more year.
And the Wagners were belting it out more than anyone else. And Josh Marnie is in the room just sitting there. He didn't know what to do.
What, did he join in and start singing with him?
Yeah, he started singing 1 more year as well. But then it sort of got old pretty quickly because the next 6 songs, they started changing the words to all the, like, I think Beyonce Single Ladies came on. It's like, all the 1 more year? Like, it didn't work. But it was a great departure, and they're 2 good boys, and same with Carl and Harley, and we wish them all the best.
Do you have any inside scoops for anyone else who's gone or getting traded or anything like that? Is there anything that?
Jeez, you want me to call it there?
I want the hot drop.
Well, do we say that to what's the fella's name again?
Benny
Boy. Boy.
We'll see if he can do anything for us.
We'll see if
huge if we could get something like that. That would be first take. Once the trade period, we're about a month early, so there you go. That'd be something.
Now snippets. We we've used this segment, not really a segment, but just Tom Bug told us to be able to grow the way he has off the field since footy's finished is to use snippets. So I mean, I've got a snippet to start, and then I think you've got a snippet regarding Arnott's as well. So
yeah, I do.
I forgot to mention our major sponsors, Arnott's, Zurich,
East End Wine Bar,
East End Wine Bar,
Barbie Onions Incorporated.
So thank you to them.
Yeah.
My snippet is based on the AFL put some limits on how we used our Instagram while we were in the hub, which was fair enough, and you didn't want to show that we were up there for a holiday, and which we weren't. But I tell you what, as soon as the AFL is finished, has that rule gone out the window? I have seen everything that Christian Petracca has done since leaving the hub. And James Harms had the biggest 25th birthday I've ever seen, Angus. He had 6 people because of restrictions. They all put it up. They all filmed it. And I felt like I was there.
Yeah, honestly, I was a part of that one as well. I reckon I got FaceTimed in because Ruby Sweeney was there and Corey Muzzer, his girlfriend, FaceTimed to get Danielle almost flat out. So they all got photos together. She was held up on the FaceTime thing. And then they took photos. I was there. I was at the party. So great time.
Did you regram it?
Yeah, if you had paid attention to your socials, which obviously you didn't, I was regramming.
Oh, so you were part of it?
I told you I was just part of it. So there was 7 couples there, and we still maintained social sort of protocol. So it was a brilliant afternoon. I wish I could have been there. Happy birthday, Harmony! And yeah,
it's the biggest 25th birthday celebration I've ever seen.
Not historically a milestone, but it's probably just a good time to blow off a bit of steam, huh? After a tough year.
It was just a light-hearted snippet. Now a little bit less light-hearted is your snippet.
Yeah, I've told you that I've been doing a lot of thinking, and this is weighed on me a bit because what I'm about to do could have serious repercussions. I'm going after a big fish. It's safe to say. All right? Yeah. Safe to say.
Gary or Glenn?
Yeah, in that sort of realm.
Yeah.
But not quite. I'm going outside the Melbourne Football Club walls, which I think people will appreciate. But what our faithful listeners will not appreciate is who I'm like. It's Arnott's. I'm going after Arnott's, and we will have a huge amount of ground support from our people because what Arnott's have done, and we'll post the pictures online, so this is not me making it up, on their Shapes page, which they have made in a retaliation to what we did with the Shapes
I did see
comparison, they have gone and basically they've put 2 jobs out there on the market for people to apply for. The first is a Tim Tam ambassador, which is someone who basically eats Tim Tams all the time, tries Tim Tams, comes up with new flavours. That's a pretty good gig, but that's not what I'm really upset with. And here's what I'm really upset with. The second gig. Arnott Shapes are advertising for a person to fill the role of the crimpy connoisseur, which doesn't sound like a whole lot to start with, but I'm just going to read you the job description and then see what you guys think. We're looking for someone who always polishes off the remnants of Shapes seasoning at the bottom of a bag. Got in trouble in primary school geometry class for calling the crimpy your favourite shape, and this is what really grinds my gears. You love a Shapes debate with respect and passion for all shapes and flavours, even savoury.
That's a low blow at people who love savoury by mentioning it.
Well, I think what they've just done then is describe that episode of our podcast. I don't know exactly what one it was, but they're offering money and a job for something that we did. That's our thing, right?
So how do we play this?
I think we go to the top of the Shapes tree. This is what I've been thinking about. I spent a lot of time thinking. I think we go to the top of the Shapes tree. And I think what's important in this whole thing is that we are, this is a mutually beneficial, this could potentially be mutually beneficial for us. Like, we are the shape, we're the shape, we are Shapes basically now.
Yep.
So it works for them because we're pushing it's a natural partnership. We push Shapes, everyone knows that we love Shapes, right? So that's perfect. The role's been built for us as a podcast. And secondly, we get a bit of, I don't know, we'll talk money with them later, but we will get a little bit of cash flow to the podcast. And I think that works for both of us. That will allow us to broaden our horizons, which we've been trying to do. So I think we go to Shapes. Once the people see this, I'm sure they'll fire up and we'll get some support. And then we'll go to Shapes. And next podcast, I reckon we try and get a Shapes heavyweight on.
Well, I can more than happily put like a savoury shape box right here, like somewhere in the photo.
I could be eating Shapes the whole time. Like it's like
I'm surprised you're not.
Well, yeah, I don't have Shapes on me. It would have been great if I did. Like the social media stuff only started on Shapes when we got it going. Like I feel honestly insulted. They didn't come to offer it to us first. So that's my snippet, and I think that's something that could potentially build in the next few weeks.
I think that's where we go next. I reckon we try and get a representative from Shapes to explain themselves.
Yeah.
The very obvious that they started an Instagram page the day after we talked about them on the captain's run.
That's obvious.
We do need to start talking, and hopefully something can come from this.
Yeah.
Even just an acknowledgement from the head of Shapes, the head of Arnott's, to say the captain's run, thank you.
Yeah, well, I'd like something, and I think the people would like something because what the job description is basically what we did already for them. So anyway,
you are a Tim Tam ambassador.
Well, I didn't want to go too deep into the Tim Tam ambassadorship, but I think like we could just do both at the same time.
Well, there's so many flavours of Tim Tam. We could run that same thing.
It could work, and this is why it's potentially mutually beneficial agreement. So we'll get onto that. That's our snippet for the week done, but I think there'll be more to come there.
Now, where else you want to take this podcast is you think to get to the next level, which I agree with. We need to sort of be open to feedback, both from each other and also from the people. So we do request anyone out there that does have feedback for the show to put it in, DM us on Instagram.
All good stuff.
Angus will read it and bring it because I'm still not that tech savvy with DMs. I say that so I don't have to check them. Well,
yeah, no, we get it. We know what's going on. We see your Instagram, so we all know how you go with that stuff.
Bring him in for Benny boy. He needs as much feedback as any of us.
Yeah, he's desperate.
But my first one, if we're being open and honest, Angus, is I feel you need to wear something Melbourne related.
Yep. Okay. I'm glad you said that. I'm still waiting for my 1 in 100 hat to come. But
yeah, well, you're not going to get one of these because there's only 100, and we had to sell the 99 to make up for this free one.
I heard I was getting one.
No. You beanie? Do you have a beanie?
Not on. You know what I do have at the moment, and this is a stretch maybe, but it's just next to my bed. I'll just sit that there.
That's good.
How's that?
Do you know, the Norm Smith medal?
Yeah.
You obviously know the Norm Smith medal. Now, I'm not sure why I'm running with this story because I don't know many facts, but his wife, I forget her name. That's the issue why I don't know why I'm running with this story. But let's just say it's Gwenda.
That's a weird one you've gone for, but sure.
let's say Gwenda. Let's say Gwenda Smith. As we know, James Frawley, who has retired, I'm close with him. Our wife's sisters. I got there in the end. And after they won the flag, obviously there's a Norm Smith medal for the best player, who I think was Brian Lake or something like that.
Yeah.
The girls do a day the next day. They're Mad Monday because they're not invited to the boys' one, and they have a Gwenda Smith, and they give it to the best on out of the girls the next day.
Brilliant.
That's a great award. Danielle would be red hot favourite to win the Gwenda Smith.
Right up there.
Yeah.
She'd be right up there. She'd be a good shout to win it. Who else? Honestly, like just Bronwyn would be. She would offer something different. I just think like Hunty's like a bit of who knows what he's going to bring on a Mad Monday. So who knows what she's going to bring to a Gwenda.
Yeah, correct.
That's my thoughts. Not sure who else really. Should we get that going with our at the partners of our players? Or
yeah, and we'll chase up the name of Norm Smith's lovely wife. I don't think it's Gwenda. It's a guess.
If it's Gwenda, I'll be disappointed.
Just before we go to Benny with the news, we got 2 more things we got to run with.
Mhm.
One is still on the feedback. Is I think there's an issue with the title.
Yeah.
From your point of view.
Not so much an issue, but continuing the theme of feedback and things that can make us better, and also in line with being more than a footy podcast. I just think I would like to talk about the name of the podcast, because first of all, the Captain's Run with Angus Brayshaw is long. It's not snappy. There's no snap to it.
Yeah.
And I just think that if we're going to the people looking for a more global outreach, if you don't like football, then you see the Captain's Run, you don't really, appreciate that. So you probably wouldn't listen. And honestly, probably I've got a few suggested names here. Now, I will admit, when I was going through them, the framework I was using was Hamish and Andy. So I've tried to contort our names to get there, and there is one of Max and Angie, which I instantly
How many times have you been called Angie?
Honestly, like once or twice, and it's always in like a derogatory, like it's derogatory. Like I'd never take this off.
Okay. Sorry, Norm.
I got the plug in. So Angie, I put that down, and there's a lot of names on this think tank, but I scratched that one out. I just want to let you know where the juices were going. I then power moved you, Max, and I went Gus and Gawny. I think that probably
puts you first, which is a bit of an issue.
Puts me first. We could go Gawny and Gus, and the good thing about the think tank is I very easily swap names. So Gus and Gawny becomes two ideas in Gawny and Gus as well.
Yep.
I like the Y. I like the Y on the end though. So
so Maxish and Angie.
Maxish and Angie could be one. But what are your thoughts on the changing? And it doesn't have to, because I mean it's not yet necessarily a problem. I'm just thinking of. I told you I'm thinking of the future. So
I think that people our loyal listeners now know that the Captain's Run has both you and myself and the redhead. So we don't need to put any of us in the title, I think.
That's fair. I understand.
So maybe just the Captain's Run, even though that is purely, obviously I am the captain, but I might not be at some point, but we'll still run with the Captain's Run,
Well, what would we still run with the Captain's Run if you get the sack?
I don't know. Maybe we should.
Should we ask?
We should ask the people.
Yeah, we've got a few things to ask the people. That was just something I wanted to put on your plate because, I sort of did a performance review, and that was something I thought that we could maybe improve on.
Beautiful.
I had sack Benny Gibson in bold capital letters, but we got no one else to do the news, so I had to scribble that up. But that was clear.
Our last segment, almost our favourite segment. It's the Eddie Langdon segment. I haven't sung this or thought about it for a while, so I know you have the first line.
And I know I've stuffed it up once before in a real bad way. So, geez, it's that. Okay, I think I've got it. It's Eddie Langdon's
segment.
I think we did that all right.
I reckon we did that all right.
How is Lingers? I miss him.
Lingers was part of my Airbnb in Gold Coast.
Who else was? Tomo?
There was six. Yeah, Tomo. And the great man Porterhouse.
Big Oscar Porterhouse McDonald.
Jaden Hunt.
Yes. And let me guess.
And Mitch Duck Brown.
That's a brilliant six.
Yeah, so majority of them were bachelors, obviously, apart from myself. Although
Jaden Hunt and Bronwyn and Oscar and Freya.
Well, Bronwyn was there.
Yeah, so not a bachelor.
Yeah, but Brownie, Tomo and Langdon basically were. Sorry.
Well, Tomo and Langdon are basically, can we really consider them anything but a couple at this point? Like they do everything.
Well, Langers started to go towards Vanders late.
Really?
Yeah, which was weird. I'm surprised Vanders wasn't on the trip.
That's strange. Anyway.
What's grinding my gears? It's not actually. It's just letting the listeners know what Ed Langdon's up to. He was planning on really connecting to Earth and hiring an RV and travelling Queensland, maybe Northern Territory with his brother Tom.
Yeah, a solar-powered RV, obviously. So don't worry, people. Yeah. Environmentally friendly.
But so far, Tom has been involved in Collingwood 3 more weeks than what Melbourne has. So he's had to fill 3 weeks in, and he didn't want to be by himself. So he came on a boys' trip to Gold Coast, which is very not him, to a point where he didn't come to one of the days to go hang out with Lockie Weller, which is another interesting point. And now he is third wheeling Jaden Hunt and Bronwyn up at Fraser Island.
That is an interesting. So I'll break that. Can we break down? First of all, I want to talk about how he bailed on everyone to see Lockie Weller.
Yep.
That's not on, I don't think.
That's not on. No, that's, yeah.
Is that because you think, because Lockie Weller, and I don't think it's wrong of me to say, is an extremely good-looking specimen. Like, is it what you think you're better than all of your teammates and are therefore trying to go up to his level? Is that what that is? Is that much better?
That's the vibe I was getting.
Okay, I don't like that. I don't like that at all. The third wheeling stuff's funny. I'll tell you why my suspicions are Lingers can't be by himself for a long period of time. And that is because there's no distractions. He has to get real with himself. And that's when he realises how much of a sham his life is potentially and the facade he's putting up. So 3 weeks, with Bronwyn and Jane.
Well, let's just go for Collingwood, eh? Let's get him to the granny. I'd love to see what he gets up to for the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, geez, that would be funny.
All right, let's go to our favourite segment. I think I have the first line in the jingle? I do.
Oh, geez. Sorry, I can't get the other jingle out of my head.
All right, well, I think I've got the first line. All right. Benny Gibson. He's got the
So you said you wanted some delistings and some trades. I don't think I can give it to you. I don't know if my boss watches the podcast, but I fear that if it got into the news, my job might be in jeopardy. So I'm going to stick clear of that. But I do have some news. It's not quite breaking because it broke this morning, but Adam Uze is back at the club in some sort of coaching role. He played 271 games for the D's across 14 years, won a best and fairest in 2001, been at Hawthorn since 2012, so premiership experience. Must be excited to have him back at the D's.
Yeah, that's a great get. He's highly regarded in the AFL. Obviously at Hawthorn for a numerous amount of flags. And he was a Melbourne great. Most consecutive games, I think. Maybe Steinsy might have it. I don't know. They both played a lot of consecutive games.
Love his last name as well. That'll bring plenty to the group. Like, that's one of those names where I went to the footy and I thought people were booing him when he was doing stuff well, and I was like, this is weird, and then I figured out it's just his last name. So there's plenty to work with there.
Contract news, we got Joel Smith signed for another year, Sparrow, Petty, Fritsch have got 2, Rivers 3, and Jack Viney, massive 5 years. So we'll be getting to him.
5 years.
I don't know the figure. You guys spoke about numbers earlier on in this podcast, earlier in the year. Well, can you give me a ballpark of what you think that would be?
Well, all you have to do is call Johnny, our boy Johnny.
Yeah, our boy.
And he'll have Vines' contract probably in front of him, I think. Ralphie, wouldn't he?
Yeah, I would have thought. I would definitely be in the, what was it? Was it the top 100?
I forget. All I know that I was incredibly high.
Yeah, well, yeah, we'll call Ralphie at some point and get the figures for that.
And then other news, as you sort of touched on earlier, Max, James Frawley has announced his retirement. So he played 239 games, 139 of which were with Melbourne. Won a flag with Hawthorn in 2015, where he actually kept Josh Kennedy scoreless in that game. So a pretty successful career. You must know him pretty well.
Yeah, 100 games with 2 clubs is a stat that not many people have. I know Bernie Vince might have got it potentially, but James has got it and got a little son, Sonny, who will be father-son to one of those clubs. Let's push for Melbourne.
Yep, we'll get that.
Although he is technically my nephew, and well, not technically, he is my nephew. And early stages of his hand-eye isn't great, so maybe we push it towards Hawthorn.
Yep. Well, I mean, how was your hand-eye growing up?
Yeah, but this kid's past 1 now. He should be able to catch and.
Yeah, we'll keep tabs. We'll keep tabs on him.
At least see the ball coming towards his face.
Yeah, well, okay. Well, Sonny's on the scrap heap for now then, huh? And we'll see.
No, but super player. Should have won the Norm Smith the year. I think Jack Gunston might have won it. I know Jack Gunston probably should have won it as well, and someone else won it. Okay. But, yeah, 240-odd games, an All-Australian in that 2010 year at Melbourne when he was almost unstoppable, running off half-back. Bet you didn't think James Frawley used to do that, but he did. So good luck to him with his journeys.
I think Cyril Rioli may have won that more. Brian Lake was 2013 against Fremantle, I believe. Anyway, other news around the club. AFLW draft was on Tuesday night, so I know Todd Patterson did a lot of work this year. It would have been a tough year to draft players without seeing much footy. So we got 6 new recruits in. All those girls are born in 2002, which just sounds very recent.
Yeah, wow, 2002.
Yeah. But
you born, Gawny? 1989, 91, 2.
I was 91. I sent all the girls a text just to welcome them to the club, and I tried to be young with the way I texted, but I still haven't got it. It seems like some of the girls didn't even know what I was saying. But 6 girls, another Sandy Dragon, which is always great, Angus, to get another Bayside girl in the club.
Absolutely, it's a win.
Just lastly, of course, there is football going on at the moment. You touched on 2 games this weekend, semi-finals. We've got Richmond and St Kilda tonight. We've got Collingwood and Geelong tomorrow. And I'm going to need a tip from you guys. Who's winning those games and who's going on to win the flag?
I'll go first, Angus.
Yeah, sure. It's your podcast. No one step on any
Well,
time.
no, not if it's Gus and Gawny. I'll go Richmond will beat Saints, and because of Tom Langdon, I want Collingwood to beat Geelong. But these games are almost insignificant because I think it's a Port v Brizzy granny, and Port upset Brizzy at the Gabba.
Wow.
I think Port are playing some great footy, and it shows what you can do from a side that was outside the 8 last year in a similar position to what we are this year. So let's go the fairy tale and go Port.
I want to pick St Kilda over Richmond. Don't know why. Danielle's got a tie to St Kilda, so I've found myself supporting them a little bit, and I'd like to see them win. I think also we were calling, like, it's weird. We've got the Melbourne colours on. Do you want me to, like, I'm wearing black and white? Is there a coincidence there? I don't know. I think I'm supporting Collingwood for the same reasons as we've specified. It would just make my little hub back here all the more happy to know that Lingers was not happy. So I want Collingwood to win, and then I agree with you on the grand final, Max. But I think out of those 2 teams, Brisbane will win.
Spit it out, Jesus.
Imagine if I said that to you every time you ramble.
I'm going to have an edit on my hands this afternoon. Thanks for your time, guys.
Thanks, Benny.
Thanks to our co-principal partner and podcast sponsor, Zurich Insurance. For over 100 years, they've been insuring the people and things you truly love. And just like you, they truly love footy and they truly love the D's.
Welcome back to the Captain's Run with Angus Brayshaw. Could be now Maxish and Angie, the name of the podcast, because it's too long. Captain's Run with Angus Brayshaw. But favourite segment is when we get a past player through. And those that are watching this via Zoom can already see the great man. But those on Spotify, we have a freshly retired Melbourne champion. Played a few at Port Adelaide late in his career, but he's a Melbourne champion. It's Big Jack Watts.
That word champion really gets thrown around pretty loosely these days, Maxie.
Well, there was a 5th in the best and fairest in what year?
Some year when Rosie was coach.
Yeah, and then obviously moved on to Port and hurt the leg. But tell us, you're retired.
I'm retired. Oh, it's a good feeling, I tell you what. I think as you probably know, and my close mates know, it was it was a little bit of a battle at times during my footy career, and I think obviously breaking the leg and trying to come back from that during a COVID year was not really ideal. So, I've sort of been thinking about it most of this year and speaking with my manager and the club, and then had a chat with the coach a couple of weeks out from finals, and he said, "Look, mate, there's probably no chance you're going to be playing this year." And so we sort of made the decision, and it's been a pretty good one, I think.
It's a weight off the shoulders.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like so many people like message you sort of, sorry to hear, and I hope you're okay, and that kind of thing. And for me, I just haven't really had that sort of disappointment or devastation. Like, yeah, I would have loved to have a better career and play finals and all the rest of it. But yeah, the feeling of leaving footy isn't sort of a sour one for me, that's for sure.
Yeah.
More time for golf as well, Watsy?
Plenty more time for golf, Gussie. That's the main thing. So the golf career begins now.
Yep.
You're still, a bandit off something around 18, or have you finally come in?
No, I'm in my blowout phase at the moment. So I'm about 14 at the moment, heading out to probably about 16, and then on the way back in. You're a single figure.
I'm at a single figure quota at the moment, but I sort of bunt them around a bit. But
yeah, that's all right.
That's why you got to get that foot right, so we can walk the fairways of the greatest course in the Southern Hemisphere for the next 50 years.
Are you guys coming down to Portsea?
I was actually going to say that, Gawny. When I get back to Melbourne, I'm coming down and spending a couple of days in that mansion of yours down in Gary.
Yeah, I'm in your room currently. Jess is out there doing Pilates, so I'm in the spare bedroom. So this is your room. Do you like it?
I like the look of it so far. Perfect, plenty of room.
So what's next, Whopper? What's next?
Well, today I'm going to mow the lawns.
Yes.
And I might even do a little 2-minute ab workout. That'll be about the extent of it. And then tomorrow I'm actually flying up to Burleigh Heads.
Oh, there you go.
So to see our friend Georgia Quinn, Maxie.
Yep.
So I'm up there for 5 weeks minimum, and then who knows after that.
You're not going to just buy a little property down in the north coast of New South Wales, are you?
Well, the dream is certainly alive now. I've been speaking to Northie a bit, actually, Northie and Schubert, and they're pretty keen to get up there and maybe do a little renovation on a rundown little property. So we're certainly looking into it. I think I'll leave that all until next year sometime. But I need to come home and see all your ugly heads for a little bit over Christmas and say hello to the family and friends. And that's sort of one thing that you realise when being over in Adelaide. That's sort of a big thing that you start to miss all your best mates and your family. And probably as you get a bit older, like me too, you start to appreciate that a bit more. So looking forward to having some good time with you guys.
Now, we know how much you love hanging out with other footballers from other clubs.
I didn't know where that one was going, actually, Maxie.
Just be careful when you go to Burleigh Heads, because I was there for a week and I went to the Burleigh Pavilion one of the nights, and I heard it was a great place, and I walked in and there was about 90 people there for a Thursday night. I'm like, this is not bad in restrictions. About 90 is good. And every single one of them was a footballer. So they're around. They're there.
Right up your alley.
I've heard that, and look, that's why I've gotten away from this footy environment. So it's a bit disappointing that they're all sort of up there in my little hub. But I'm hoping that the guys that have sort of, like you guys that have been up in the hub and missed finals, I'm hoping that they've sort of had their little couple of weeks up there on the Goldies, because I've been speaking to your mate James Harms and all those boys, and they've been up there for a little bit too, just flouting around. But they're now heading home this weekend, I think, Tommy Mack and the boys.
Yep.
So I'm hoping that sort of I've timed it well, and
good
a lot
timing.
of them are pissing off and leave me in peace.
Just with Port, obviously still playing finals. Are you going to go to the prelim? You'll be there, won't you? No, you go to Burleigh Heads.
Up to Burleigh.
You'll be watching from afar, though.
I'll be watching from afar, certainly. Because I'm out of the bubble, I can't go and watch it with all the boys and stuff anymore.
Right.
So I've got to. So
you'll be in with the riffraff.
Yeah, exactly. Which I'm not super keen on, but
yep.
Hopefully, I know the boys are probably going to get the job done this prelim. That's sort of the easy part, and then the granny up in the Gabba. That's where I'll probably try and sneak myself a little ticket and
hour and a half drive up.
That's it, and go and enjoy it with the boys. And they've had a great year, haven't they? They're playing some good footy, and looking forward to them taking the cup home.
After Port playing the grand final, is that the last ever game of football you'll watch?
Look, I must admit, since I've retired, I've watched one game, which was Port's final.
Yeah.
Haven't watched too much other footy or tuned into too much else.
Yeah.
And I think this is the first little bit of media or anything I've done since. So,
You saved up for the big guns.
That's right.
Interviews.
Exactly. So, I'll go pretty low key. I think Gawny. To be honest, I think eventually, I think I'll get back to enjoying it and watching it, and it'll be nice heading to the MCC and putting the collar on and watching you boys go around for a couple of years. But I think initially I'll take a bit of a hiatus.
Yeah.
Slowly getting away from footy now, because that's enough footy chat, Angus. You've been firing out the footy questions. We need to get away from them, Angus. Now, my wedding was the first of this year, which you were there, Angus. Benny, you weren't.
I was there for a bit, then checked out pretty early on.
Yeah. And Watsy was the MC of the wedding.
I think I had a bit of a similar moustache back then.
Yeah, you actually looked very, very similar to what you do now. And was very, very good. But he, Watsy likes to prepare very late sometimes. And as I'm getting my suit on, he's walking around with his notebook saying, "Do you reckon I should say this? I should say this." I'm like, "Yeah, just say whatever you want." And to a point where he called up the place where we had our wedding in Cape Shank about a couple of hours before we were due to walk down the aisle to see if they had a big screen that he could do a PowerPoint display.
Look, it was sort of a last-minute decision, and I thought it might be funny. It didn't really work out very well.
You had the crowd.
Bit like the Viney joke, you giving up the captaincy to you, Gawny. That didn't really go down too well at the time either. But turned out to be correct, didn't it? Turned out to be true.
Profit. And when you were trying to explain your summer, your 2019 summer, and there was some New Zealand family of mine that didn't know what had happened that you had to go explain to. But it was a very good wedding. But the Bucks was something that I was more interested in.
Oh,
at one point during the Bucks, I did think it was your Bucks. Look, very, very strongly.
It's that whole sort of, well, I mean, you were there for 4 days. I was there for, 8 days, I think, a couple of days before you. And to be honest, I can't remember much of it. It's all a bit of a haze, really. I did miss my flight home. I booked a nice business flight home because I knew I'd be a bit fragile, and ended up falling asleep in a cafe the morning of. So I missed that flight home with all you boys and had to jump on the Jetstar in cattle class. But that was a very good trip, Gawny. We should make that an annual thing, I think.
Yeah, well, New Zealand might be in the travel bubble, won't it?
Yeah, I think they're opening up to us pretty soon.
You've got form for that stuff. That's what you live for, Watsy, huh? Did a golf in there as well. You played at Jack's Point.
Those sorts of things, and then a couple of golf trips. We've just got to start up in the ante with golf trips, Gussie.
Well, I mean, so I often think about that, and I'll ask you this question. It's you're my mate, and what are you now? You'd be 29.
Mm-hmm.
So any of my mates cost $30 to play at Royal Melbourne. That's a goddamn crime when you consider what's Portsea.
50.
So what on earth? Why would you go anywhere else on the planet if you've got the option, which you do, to play East and West? That's what I do. East morning, lunch, West.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I'm going to be playing 6 days a week, I reckon, from now on. So I'm taking the clubs up to Burleigh. I'm going to have to find a good golf course up there somewhere.
What did the age have to do with that question?
Because once you turn 30, you pay, I think it's $60 around.
Oh, really? So it's an under 30 rate?
Yeah, they look after, because a lot of the clientele at Royal are a bit older, so they're trying to encourage the youth to come through and play. So you two are still youths, so I can get you on. It's $30 is criminal. Like
I'm about to tick over into that sort of age where everything just sort of all prices just start going like this, and we don't get looked after anymore. And so I better make the most of it these last couple of months.
You should.
All right, a couple more, and then we'll let you go. Talk to me about squash. How's it going? Has it got a relaunch coming? Because the launches are the best parties that I go to.
Yes. We had funny you say that. We had a squash meeting last night. Stubby Turner, he's ready to go. He's going a bit mad back there in lockdown. You know Turner, our designer. He's he loves a dance, he loves a party, and he needs to see some of his friends. So we're going to try to plan something. I think it'll be a bit more intimate this year. We'll just choose sort of our top people. Maybe I think the limit in Melbourne might be sort of 50-ish once things open up a little bit. So Gawn, you'll probably make the cut. Gussie, you were pretty close. You were best on at our Reva party that day.
Very good.
That, huh?
You were outstanding that day.
I ate a pineapple, skin and all.
I think you may have. No, we won't go there.
You won't go.
Anyway, so we're looking at
just for fun. You know what I mean?
We'll do something with squashies this year.
Yeah.
Maybe down at your sort of local, down at the Sorrento pub, they're putting a new pool up the top somewhere. So we'll see if we can work that into it. But it's going very well. COVID obviously, wasn't ideal, but the t-shirts have done very well, and we've sort of cut back on a couple of expenses, which has helped us. And now we're back to flying. So we need a big month next month, and coming into summer, it should help us.
Beautiful. And there's a new season?
There's a new range coming out. We're bringing out some flat caps as well. Bring some.
Gussie can wear a flat cap.
Can wear a flat cap.
Get it on. Get it on, Watsy.
It's coming for you, Gussie boy. It's coming. And then we've got some little things, scrunchies and stuff for the girls. We've got a whole new girls range. So yeah, it's all coming. And Gawny, you'll be first to receive your little #1 ambassador package.
Thank you. I'll start doing those 2-minute call circuits as well.
Yeah.
Judging that I might need to pose in a photo with boardies. Last thing before we wrap up. I messaged you early in the year, Jack, because it's just going a little bit more slightly serious. But when I listened to that podcast, The Imperfects with Hugh Van Gogh, is that his name?
Van Cuylenberg.
Is Van Gogh a painter?
Van Gogh's a painter, yes.
So it wasn't him. And he talked, you were on that podcast, and you just talked about yourself, and it made me realise that footy aside, you're the person who lives your life to the fullest, and it influences so many other people, and it influenced me when I lived with you, and I feel like you can hold your head high with how you've handled yourself throughout this whole period, how you've handled yourself in your career, and how you've been able to be a good friend to me the whole way through, and to Angus. So yeah, thank you for coming on.
I'll agree with all of what Gawny said, except there was one time, Watsy, when I beat you in a game of golf at Royal Melbourne, and the sun was setting, and I saw a sour side of you, which I didn't like. Next time, I tell you, and it will probably happen the next time we play, but I just, if there's one thing that we want you to work on, it's probably just when you're on the receiving end of hiding at Royal Melbourne.
Just somehow knew that you were going to work that into this conversation, Gus. Maxie, thank you very much for those words. It's very kind of you, and it's been pretty amazing getting all the messages from you guys and the boys and friends and family. Just once you finish up on how they see you and the person that they see you. So I think that's one thing I can sort of be pretty proud of over the journey. It's certainly been a roller coaster, and I've made plenty of mistakes, and lots of people have. But thanks very much, and thanks for having me on. Beautiful.
That's the captain's run. We've gone a little bit long, but we had the great man Jack Watts, so we had to go a little bit longer. Hopefully, we're back in a week or two. Good work, Angus. Good work, Jack.
Thanks, boys.
All the best.